Hi, this is Tammy, your Max Tax trainer, and I just want to welcome you back to the second video in the training and certification. In the first video, we went over welcomes and introductions and covered topics such as U.S. tax history, the max tax difference, the compensation plan, and the IRS.gov website resources. In this video, we're going to go over course introductions, which I will get into the topics in just a moment. But I just want to remind everybody that if you are not already on our mailing list, please be sure to go to maxtaxrefundguarantee.com/jobs in order to receive your training program directly to your inbox. So let's go ahead and get started. In this video, we're going to cover the training plan and week 1A lesson. Just want to remind everybody that again, this is an 8-week training program. So every other day you'll receive a new lesson plan that will include readings for about 2 hours of work. You can break that up however you want. If you want to do 1 hour one day and another hour the second day, and then on the third day you'll receive your next lesson, or if you want to knock out 2 hours in one day, that's perfectly fine. But I just want to remind everybody that hasn't been in the school mode for a while that you don't want to get too far behind. Even though this is a self-paced course, you do not want to get too far behind because it's really hard to try and knock out 20 hours of coursework in one weekend. So go ahead and stay up to date on that, and the path that we give you will get you through the course within 8 weeks. Alright, so for this video, what you're going to be responsible for going over is what's new this year, course introduction, and screening and interviewing. And I'll show you your course plan right now. So you should have received this link directly in your email, and it is an Excel file that you can download to your computer. And I would encourage you to also print off this summary sheet so you can have it as a quick reference. So this training comes directly from the IRS Link and Learn module. It is a training that they provide to all of their volunteer tax preparers. And so it is our belief that your foundation for your tax learning should come directly from the IRS. It wouldn't matter if we put together a course that was produced by a bunch of Harvard graduates. At the end of the day, the IRS is the authoritative source on taxes, so that is why we use their training as the baseline training. For your subsequent training, that will come from a different source, but your basic foundation will always be directly from the IRS. Alright, so let me just give you a brief overview of this. What you'll find is that the IRS has put together a quality e-learning solution. It's a fun and interactive course that teaches you the basics of how to accurately prepare tax returns. And this is also what you'll use as your certification path to preparing taxes. As you can see, there are 7 different modules. And as a paid tax preparer, you will be expected to complete the intermediate training and certification. The intermediate certification path covers all the basic lesson plans, as you'll see, with the addition of more diverse return preparation needs for wage and pension earners, as well as those who receive Social Security and have a simple self-employment income. Now, as you scroll down, what I also want to point to is that the estimated actual times may vary. Not only because this is a self-paced course, so you may get through it faster or a little slower than others, but also because this time encompasses all the different modules. So, for example, a basic course may only take 5 minutes to complete, whereas an advanced course on the same topic may take 30 minutes to complete. So just kind of use this as a rough estimate. It's not set in stone. So the times do vary, and the grand total at the end is in hours, but again, that includes all the courses, and you're only responsible for completing the intermediate. So we'll go to that tab in just a moment, but I just want to show you one other thing before we navigate. There are some additional resources and links. First couple things I want to point you to is the Form 1040, the 1040 instructions, and Publication 17. We will be using the Form 1040. Now, if you've done your own taxes, you may know that there are 3 different forms. There's the 1040EZ, the 1040A, and then just the plain 1040. Now, the IRS doesn't care which one they use. They say you can use the simplest one that fits your situation. I do want to use a little bit of caution with that. For example, on the 1040EZ, there is not a line if you sell stocks. Now that doesn't mean that if you sold stocks and you made a profit on it that you don't list it as income if you accidentally grab the 1040. It just means you need to get a form that uses the 1040. So the IRS doesn't care which one you use as long as you use the one that is most appropriate for your situation. A couple of things I want you to go ahead and order. Remember on the last video we went through that resource, how to go to the IRS website and order form. Order the 1040 instructions and the publication 17. This will be your resource guide that you will use over and over again. So you want to just go ahead and order that and have it. You'll also want to make sure that you get not only the current year but the previous year, because you'll be doing a lot of second looks for clients. So you want to make sure you have the 2 most recent tax years. So for example, in 2011, you'll be preparing returns for the 2010 tax year, but you'll also be reviewing the 2009 returns. And if you ever get in a situation where you need something older than that, then you can just go ahead on the IRS website and download that publication directly to your hard drive. A couple other things I want to point you to before we go to the intermediate course is the training is the 44091. This is the training guide. So this is everything that is in the online version, just in the book format. So if you ever wanted to send it to a print shop or just to have it on your hard drive, you can go ahead and download that. This is the X version, and about mid-December of each year, the IRS will update that version to include anything that at the time Congress hadn't decided what they wanted to do. So the X version is done about mid-December, and it'll include anything that wasn't in the 4491. The W version is the problems and exercises, and that's what we'll be going over in the 5th week, and we'll talk about that later. And then the software practice, again, we'll talk about that later. And this is the link for the test and certification, and that'll also be later. So for the intermediate course, which everybody will be responsible for completing, if you're going to do more advanced courses, that's great. We definitely encourage that. So this is the intermediate course. Again, I would encourage you to go ahead and print this off and have it as a quick reference because it gives you the tax summary. And for this video, what you're going to be responsible for completing by next lesson is what's new, course introductions, and then screening and interviewing. A couple other things I want to point out is that in the lessons, you'll see a lot of things referring to volunteer tax preparers or VITA/TCE sites. You know, again, like I said, this is coming from the IRS training, which is what they use to train their volunteers. You may also see some references to, refer the tax preparer to a paid tax preparer. Don't worry about that because, like I said, we do have more advanced trainings. We just wanted to get you a solid foundation with the IRS because they are the authoritative source on taxes. So let's go over this week's lesson plan. But before we get started, I want to point you to a simple concept that will help doing taxes a whole lot easier. And that is the simple concept that taxes really are simple. If you read the 16th Amendment, it basically says that Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without appropriation among the several states and without regard to any consensus or enumeration. So what that means in layman's terms is that all income, both domestic and foreign, so wherever you earn the income, is taxable unless we, Congress or the IRS, states otherwise. And if you keep that simple concept in your mind, that will make the next 8 weeks and doing taxes in general a whole lot easier. Now, you may have heard something like there is 50,000 plus pages of tax code. And that's true, but just keep in mind this concept that it's the 16th Amendment that gave Congress the power to tax all income from whatever source derived, but it's that 50,000 pages that's going to tell you how to reduce your tax liability. And that's where you come in as a tax preparer, and that's where you help your clients, is to reduce the amount of income they have to pay to the U.S. government. So keep that concept in mind, and not only will doing taxes be easy, but you'll be a lot successful of a tax preparer. That if you keep in mind all taxes all income is taxable, But if you can find something in the tax code that says it's excluded, it's exempt, or there's a deduction or a credit for it, then that is how you reduce your tax liability. And I know you may not know what those terms mean right now, but over the next 8 weeks, we're going to cover it. And that, again, is where you come in as a tax preparer to help your clients reduce their tax refund and get the maximum tax refund guaranteed. So let's get started. What's new this year? Now, this all may not make sense at the beginning of the course, but I do want to encourage you to go through it now, and you may want to go back and review it after you finish the entire course, because you're going to want to compare to what is, for example, expiring tax benefits this year, because you will be doing a lot of second looks for clients. So not only will you be preparing their 2010 taxes, but you'll be reviewing their 2009. So you want to be able to know what was authorized by the IRS or Congress and what wasn't. So go through this section. I also want to point out in this section that it is very important that when you're preparing taxes, you use the correct responding year forms, instructions, and publications. For example, if you're doing 2010 taxes or tax return, you want to use the forms, publication, and instructions for that year. A perfect example is that in 2009, Congress said the first $2,400 of unemployment income wasn't taxable. Well, that's expiring this year. So you're going to want to know what is authorized each year. And each year, everything changes. That's where you come in as a tax preparer, is to stay up to date on that, or at least know where to get it. So just want to point out, it is very important that that website that I gave you for the IRS resources with the where you can download, view, and order the publications, that you're using the correct year for the correct tax return. Course introduction. This section will just introduce you to the IRS's Link and Learn training program, which is what you use for your certification program. It's just going to kind of tell you what to expect and how to navigate the system, and just takes you through the course. I do encourage you to go through it. A lot of things may be common sense, but there are some very useful tips and tricks that will show you how to get the most out of the course. So go ahead and go through it. It's real easy. You just fly through it, and just kind of gives you an overview of what to expect over the training. Screening and interviewing. This is where I just want to iterate that taxes are more about helping people and solving problems than about crunching numbers. Because having the ability to communicate with all types of people and knowing where and how to get the right information, where you can understand and apply tax law and prepare accurate returns, are the skills you will need to be a successful tax preparer. So we would rather hire somebody who understood tax law and had great people skills than somebody who understood tax law and had great math skills. Because, like I said at the beginning, it's more about your people skills than about being a math genius. As long as you understand tax law and you're able to communicate and build rapport and listen and overcome barriers, you're going to be a very successful tax preparer. Because if you think about it, like you have to get undressed when you go to the doctor, clients are getting undressed financially for us. It's very important that you have those people skills to assist clients. This module will give you some helpful interview techniques when working with clients. Alright, so just to recap, go ahead and print off the intermediate course sheet and then this summary sheet. And for the next lesson, you'll be responsible for completing what's new, course introductions, and screening and interviewing. So let's go to the next slide. We went over these three. Just want to give you an overview of what's ahead. We said this is an 8 weeks course. 4 weeks is going to be spent on exactly what I just went over, the coursework. 2 weeks will be spent on the problems and exercises. 1 week will be spent on actually putting it all together and working in the software. And then 1 week will be spent for preparing for the tax test. We broke it out this week because we wanted to give you some time to fully dedicate everything to 4 weeks to learning about the tax law. Then we wanted to dedicate some time to actually going through some practice problems and working with the paper form. Because once you get to the software part, although you won't have to ever complete a form again, as we all know, with software, garbage in, garbage out. So we want to make sure that you have a solid foundation in actually preparing returns by hand. So that about wraps up this course, and I want to again encourage you to enter any questions or comments below, and also be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can receive any future updates when videos are uploaded, and join us on Facebook or Twitter at these following links, And just one more time, that if you are not already on our mailing list, please be sure to go to maxtaxrefundguarantee.com/jobs so you can receive your training plan directly to your inbox. And that is also the only way that you'll get some of this particular spreadsheet and some of the other trainings that we have available. So again, I want to welcome you to the Max Tax family and congratulate you on the journey. So let's get started, and I'll see you on the next video.